Just to start off, I have some from the floor already. Charlotte's asking, and I think this is an interesting question, actually, challenging one. She from Ackland Burgley School.
Put your hand up.
Are you there, Charlotte? There, Charlotte. This is a good question. Charlotte asks, how else could you succeed without being ruthless? That's Charlotte's question, and it's one generally for the panel, is it, Charlotte? For everybody. How else do you succeed without being ruthless? I put it to you all.
So who would like to take that question? Oh, there seems to be a bit of... Yes, please, Ari.
I don't think you can succeed at all with being ruthless at all. You can produce results rather quickly with ruthlessness, but it comes back to haunt you. And take a look at the ruthless financial people in New York that are now doing prison time or are bankrupt and so on. If you want to get ahead with human beings aren't stupid. They pick up what's going on. If they pick up your kindness, your happiness, your compassion, they're more likely to work with you than not. It is a complete myth. Ruthlessness is a dead end.
And Junior?
Like the thing with me is that for years I was sort of like fighting to sort of like big up and create a name for myself. But on reflection, I've actually achieved so much more now by giving back and giving to other people than I ever achieved by trying to be ruthless and trying to get what I want in my own way. So yeah, you can help, you can get what you want by helping other people. And I think it's all about give and take, isn't it? So that's why it works.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's take a question from the floor. Anyone got a question that they thought of? I saw some hands up over here. No?
Our assistants are ready with microphones.
Do you want to take the microphone to one of the... Yeah, put your hands right up. The gentleman just there at the end of the row. Pass him the microphone, please. Thanks.
Hello?
Okay. Hello! What's your name, hon?
Okay, my name is Isfahan.
Yep.
I'm from the Nautical. And basically, I want to ask a question. Say people want to acquire occupations in the forces. You have to be ruthless, don't you?
Oh, good question. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so did you understand the question? So
yeah, okay.
Basically saying, you know, ruthlessness in the...
I think the answer is yes and no, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. When I was working with veterans, they came back from war, I learned from them about a really interesting distinction. Some of them were talking about being soldiers, some of them were talking about being killers, some of them were talking about being warriors. One of the most special people that I had the honor to learn from was a guy from a Native American background who went to Vietnam and he went to war and he did a lot of ruthless things. But he described himself as a warrior. And he spent a lot of time honoring in his mind, in his practices, every single person that he ended up hurting in the context of war. I'll tell you one quick story. He had a Zippo lighter that he had been saving for over 40 years. And that lighter belonged to a person that he ended up killing. Had he not killed that person, he would have died himself. And him saving that lighter in a special place was his way of honoring that person. It was his way of having the heritage of a warrior. So I do think there is a way to be a warrior, to engage in those types of practices and also be honorable. I come from a country and there is plenty of war. I'm certainly not a pacifist. Sometimes we have to be rough. But even when we do these things, we can engage in an honorable way.
Thank you, thank you. And Anthony?
I was just going to say that some wars can be better than others. The war against Hitler in the Second World War, somebody who was really evil, and if people didn't fight and give up their lives to fight and kill that very evil man and his philosophy, then racism and those beliefs would have dominated the whole of Europe. So sometimes even somebody who believes in compassion can take part, I believe, in fighting and indeed in killing people.
Controversial, but good, yeah.
Ari,
thank you.
yes.
Okay, just one quick point from Ari, and then we'll move on to the
A
next
study of the
question.
United States Military Academy talks about fourth stage war. The most effective wars that are waged are ones that are use compassion. It's preemptive. They use sub-Sahara Africa, where they use special forces to go in to do dental projects, drill wells. They find that much, much cheaper in dealing with that, and they don't lose personnel because they're doing something that is compassionate, and it tends to bind people to them, and it eliminates the need for war. During war itself, that the fighting kind, it's not about ruthlessness, it's about teamwork and being a professional and doing the job that you were assigned to do. If you turn worthless, you turn rogue, and you're not a good soldier.
Thank you. That's really good. I've actually got, just to intercede here, I've got another question here which I like. This is one from William Morris, sixth form. And this is an interesting one that's kind of connected to what we were saying. Do you think evil people who commit crimes such as paedophilia, murder, rape, etc., could it be more of a genetic thing than psychological?
Ooh.
So this is really whether, whether there's a genetic component to evil acts or whether it could be psychological. I think this might be one for our neuroscientists, perhaps.
So, in fact, what the data say, when we look at people's brains and also people's biological wiring, there are people like psychopaths who do have very different brain responses to when they see other people suffer and who cannot really share the suffering of others. So for them, it seems to be hardwired. But personally, I think that there's a lot of space and there's a lot of freedom that we have in choosing what we do and why we do it and how we do it. And so I think that despite the biological setup we're being born with, we have a lot of choice to shape our responses and to act. So the freedom, I think, is generally underestimated. This is my short response.
Thank you. Okay, do we have another question from the floor or one on this side at all? Anyone? No? We've got one over here. If you could take...
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, my name's Sam, and basically, I personally think that from the society that we live in, we're trained from young to be ruthless. It's like it's programmed in us from the society that we live in. Do you agree with that? And do you, like, for example, we go to school, we learn certain things so that we could become something when we leave school. So not to do our own path. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, that is a really, really insightful and excellent question. So, to the panel.
In what can I ask Sam? Can we take the mic back to Sam? In what ways do you think is your school making you out to be ruthless, Sam? Can I ask?
Well, basically, from the lessons that we learn, the things that we do, it makes us go to be a certain person when we leave school. This is what I feel. So, like, we do things like history. We learn certain things in history. It sets a mindset for when we leave school. So I think, and even not even just to do with school, but the society that we live in, the things we see makes us become ruthless. It's like they want us to be individual and arrogant so that in a way we don't come together and have compassion and try to change things.
Is that clearer?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right. Can I just ask how many of the students here think that the school system is making you more ruthless? Hands up. And hands up who thinks this. And hands down. And hands up who thinks your school system is actually more making you kind than ruthless. Hands up.
Oh, it's not good, is it?
Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right.
I mean, yeah. I think that's really interesting, and thank you very much for bringing that up because competitive, when you've got exams and lots of pressures, it can be really hard to be compassionate. But
Sam was also saying about the society, and I think that's a very important point as well, that there are messages, just correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, what I understood from what you're saying is that there seem to be messages in society all around you, all the time, that's saying you've got to be an individual, you've got to kind of stand up for, get your thing. I think,
you've got to be rich, you've got to be handsome.
Yeah, and you can muck up Chelsea and walk away with £20 million. I mean, what kind of message does that give anybody?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, TV and music, there's lots of things that kind of reflect consciousness, and it is really important that you can analyse them, that you can look at them, that you can say, is this who I want to be, or is this just being projected onto me?
I was wondering if
anyone from the panel?
I was going to share a story that I actually read in the newspaper in the US that kind of shows the opposite of how the power of one person to actually generate a whole wave of positive things in their school. There was a school in the US where a boy showed up with he was wearing a pink polo t-shirt to school. And he was bullied, really, really badly bullied that day by somebody. And there were 2 kids who saw him. So the 2 kids had a choice. They saw exactly what was going on, and they could have just ignored it. They could have instigated a fight with that person who was doing the bullying. There were lots of ruthless options they had, and they had other options. They actually put together this whole campaign. They went out that day, and they went to some cheap shop somewhere, like a pound shop, and they bought 50 pink T-shirts. And they went onto Facebook and they set up a campaign, and they got a whole bunch of people from their school involved. And this is all overnight. This is all the same day. They went home, they set up a campaign, they got all these people in their school involved, and they said, everybody tomorrow show up in pink. We saw a boy being bullied, which is ridiculous. There's no reason he should be bullied. Let's all go to school wearing pink tomorrow and show that bully that you can't just mess around like this. And they actually did that, and hundreds of kids the next day, not just 50 kids who they bought these T-shirts for, hundreds of kids showed up the next day at that school wearing pink. And that sent a much more positive and strong message to the bullier, who actually never bullied this kid again, than any ruthless act could have.
And, you guys are society. You get to create it. If you don't feel that what is around you is representing who you are, you have to be the change. And also, where you focus your mind is what you see. What you project is what you get often. So, if you're looking for the negative, you will find it. If you're looking for the positive, it is there to be seen. I mean, that massively inspirational story. So I think I'm getting the Time's Up smile from Nikki, the gorgeous Nikki. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you to all our panellists and for you guys to give them a big clap.